This is Community Curations with your host, the Gothic Storyteller. And on the slab today, I'm kidding, not on the slab, but our special guest today is Catfights. Whiskey! Oh my god. Hold on.
Hi.
Wait, hold on.
Relatable. Hi, friends.
I
I hope
had
you're
a
doing
really
well.
great intro, and the cats had this shit all over that. Oh my god. Uh, bring back the slab. Right, I'm about to freaking put the cats on the slab. That's what I'm about to do. Uh, so for those of you guys that are new, we don't usually have cat fights at the beginning of the show. No. That was totally different.
In the
I
middle.
swear I did not put anything in the water for them that start that. Um, but for those of you guys that are not familiar with the community curations, generally I go about like a month in advance or so. I ask as a Salem on behalf of the other Salem. I apologize. Oh my god. We generally interview one of our own in the community in order to learn more about our community members through their favorite films. I am a filmmaker, podcaster, formerly professional smartasser. I can still come out of retirement for that, but I am a Twitch streamer and I love learning about my community's favorite films. And me and Kay have actually had quite a few watch parties together in the past.
Mhm.
We watched like Sex Education. I'm trying to think any
The
actual
TV show.
movies. Huh?
The TV show.
Yeah, like I think that's what got us started. I was supposed to go to a watch party, but then like other things came up that
Uh,
prevented me from that. But other than that, I do tend to also hold watch parties in my Discord and kind of share my love for cinema with everyone else. And if other people have other interests, like it's always wonderful to sit there and hear their interests. And I figure community curations is the best way to do that. It's the best way for me also too to kind of judge when I do a watch party. It's like, okay, well, if they like this, I think they would like this. And, maybe they would like to come chill and learn a little bit more about this. I'm keeping an eye on Salem now. It's like, don't start no fights now, man. Don't start no fights. Um, so going into this, uh, is it okay if we just call you Kay for the episode? Or is Ghost Girl
sure.
fine?
If
Yeah,
if
okay.
is fine.
Okay, so tell us who are you as Ghost Girl, and
Oh.
for one, I want to know where is the origin in your name, or of your
Oh.
name. There you go. That's the proper. That's
I
the
didn't know you were going to ask this, but yes. My name came from a song, two of my favorite songs, but
mm,
mainly it's from Little Peep. Little Peep is a artist that he passed away, but his songs were kind of on the sad side.
mm-hmm.
And there was a song that he was saying that he's looking for a ghost girl, and I don't know, that just like stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And another favorite song of mine is Misguided Ghosts from Paramore, which is about kind of like you're going away, but you're gonna come back, and you're just trying to find your place in the world.
Okay.
Hmm.
I like that. I've heard of Little Peep through another streamer, Sakuya Shan.
Hmm.
She loves Little Peep, and it's like, I think there's like a song like Skater Boy. I'm a Skater Boy or something like that. I have no clue because every time I hear it, I hear something different in the lyrics. But I don't listen to much modern day music, so when it comes to like when people reference modern day,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, no, I'm an old man in spirit. It's like I'm still jamming out the Black Sabbath's like first album. Star Shopping will never not make me cry. Interesting. Is that another Little Peep song or is that a Paramore song?
That one I'm not sure. I
Okay,
don't know if
okay.
I heard that
And
one.
everything. Now Paramore, I do know. Like I used to listen to them like back in high
I,
school.
yeah.
Oh, that's a Little
I
Peep
I
song.
listened
Like
to
you do.
the very like old Paramore song. Nothing really recent.
It seems like a lot of the bands that we definitely enjoyed listening to in our childhood, youth, and everything, and then as we kind of grow up, it's very rare that you'll ever stay on the same page with them. Like
Hmm.
like
Yeah, their music
Paramore,
can change.
yeah, there's very few bands like I think Slipknot was the one where I know a lot of people complained and sat there said Iowa was like the best album they ever did. Well, I came in on Volume 3, the Subliminal Messages, and I like the mix of heavy metal with like a really good rhythm and like a melody. And people are like, "Oh, they sold out," and it's all like, I kind of feel like they're much more in their like they're much more in a darker feeling and everything compared to like just screaming constantly and everything. And so I've been following them ever since. And the same thing with Stone Sour. Ever since I think their second album, I've followed every bit. Um, those are like two rare bands that I've stuck with ever since. But back to you. What? Tell us about your streaming journey. How long have you been doing it? Are you a variety streamer of sorts? Let's get to know a little bit more about the streaming background.
Hmm. I think I've been streaming like consistently for about 3 years. Um, and I am a variety streamer. I started on just streaming on my PlayStation. I was in the military at the time, so I couldn't be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it was 3 years ago that I started being consistent with it. And ever since then, like I've always been really interested in Let's Plays. Um, I am very shy. I have social anxiety. It was very hard for me to start up, but I've gotten I've gotten used to it. I think I've gotten better.
I
And I'm
I would
so
agree
glad
so.
because yeah, I love the community in Twitch. I love making friends. These are some of my best friends I've met on this platform.
Mm-hmm. Like I could definitely tell the shyness because even when I first discovered you, I was like, oh, she's very shy and everything. But then when you started implementing the VTuber, that sometimes like that's right where I kind of feel like the core of you definitely comes out because it doesn't
But
feel
yeah,
like you have all the eyes on you, but you have this cute little, would you say
I can
chibi?
be silly.
Like a
Yeah.
chibi version of you? Yeah. And then like there are just times where like it's like this very sarcastic, like, I don't know, like kind of personality just kind of comes out. And it's like I like it, It's like even though I love looking, I love watching streamers and like seeing their face and getting their actual reactions. But I've come around now the VTubers to where um
Hmm.
I'm gonna kind of go here a little bit for wrestling, even though I know you're not too much of a wrestling fan. You do support one of your friends that is a professional wrestler that actually is in my state, um, but it's like almost like having a wrestling persona. It's like already Twitch, you already have a persona to begin with. Your Ghost Girl, but adding
Hmm.
that VTuber model that kind of ups the character a little bit. So the
Yeah,
VTubing help is so helpful. So it's
definitely.
like you can embody an actual entity, and you could kind of feel like you let go of yourself and you just become this new person.
It's
Um,
like role playing. Kind
yeah,
of like cosplay without the cosplay.
it's cosplay on the budget, even though depending on what type of VTuber you got, that could still be very pricey. And
Hmm.
um, so before we jump right into the movies, we have to ask the most important streaming game from Ghost Girls community, from the
Oh,
streamer itself. What is your favorite Final Fantasy game?
yes. It's Final Fantasy 10 because it's on my chest. It's also behind me. This is Final Fantasy 10 too, but it's still good.
Interesting. I'm guessing. What are your thoughts on Seven? It seems like everyone loves Seven,
7.
Cloud, and all
Um,
them, and Sephiroth.
to be honest, I did not play the OG 7.
Okay.
Um, I played the remake and I really enjoyed the remake. Um, but I feel like that that series, Final Fantasy 7, got ruined for me because it was already spoiled by the time that I even knew what Final Fantasy 7 was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was not eager to play it, especially with the graphics back then. I was like, I need something a little bit more immersive, I guess.
But
So
by that, do you mean like, do you just not like the art style to the
yeah.
classical? Oh, okay, okay. So you don't like
Mhm.
the 8-bit form, but like also too, didn't don't you like play like other JRPGs
Mhm.
and everything?
Mhm.
So do you play a specific one? Like I guess you would say the PlayStation era and then up instead of say the Super Nintendo and the Famicom and all that.
Yeah, I played PlayStation. Growing up, I started with the Sega Genesis, Dreamcast. GameCube, all those ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
But
okay.
mostly PlayStation was kind of my thing.
Okay, okay. Also, to that ad, I did start as a PlayStation streamer first too. I was streaming off my PS4 for like about a year before Sis bought, my PC, and now look at me. I'm halfway to being a professional. I just need the studio next.
Mhm.
So moving on, through Community Curations, the bulk of our show is actually going through the community members' three favorite films, with the number one generally always being a personal one. So we're gonna start with a I don't want to call it an anime, but it is an animated film. A
Mhm.
silent voice directed by, and I may butcher this name, Nayako Yamada. It is a coming of age psychological drama, which that's the first time I've ever seen those two genres put together.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Stephen King could be both. Based on the book or the manga of the same title by Yoshitoki Oima. And the film is a grade school student with a hearing impairment is bullied and transferred to another school. Years later, the former bully is tormented by his behaviors and sets out to make amends.
Mhm.
Why did you pick this film in particular? Like, I was expecting most of your films to be animated, but like when I saw this, I was like, this is an interesting. I would want to try this. It seems like an interesting choice.
Honestly, yeah, I wasn't expecting to pick this one either, but like it always comes back to me. Like I watched this film so many times, and one particular thing about this film is that I first watched it with my community
Mm.
right when I started streaming. This was our very first movie night. And we're very like um supportive of our friends with
Mm-hmm.
depression and anxiety. I myself struggle with those things. And watching this film was just it was so special because it was so relatable. Um, and I love those films that really tell a story on like what we are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It explains it better than maybe I can put into words.
Okay, so it's
Hmm.
definitely an experience type of film too. I've had those where I've seen those films and it's like when people ask, well, how is it, and it's like it's kind of hard to put that all into words. It's more the experience of, that leaves you, I guess we'd say, breathless. If we're gonna make movie references, I'll reference a French New Wave film. Pretty sure none of you guys have ever seen it. If you have, kudos on you. um but coming of age psychological drama, that's something you don't see all too much. Was that what reeled you in also as well? Because I kind of noticed some of the anime, I from my understanding, or just some of the shows that I think you enjoy, they always tend to be slice of life in a sense,
Mm,
kind of. But I think also too they could be looked at as coming of age, like Sex Education. It's a bit of a slice of life, but it's more of a coming of age because we're seeing,
yeah.
these people in high school get ready for the real world, also while confronting their sexual frustrations or just their curiosity with sex to begin with. Uh, I've kind of noticed that in our friendship. It's all like, do you like coming of
Mm,
age and slice of life dramas of
I
sorts?
do. I
You
love
do?
dramas. I love things that can be relatable. If I can feel like I can be in that situation, those are ones that I really like.
Okay, okay. I really I had no clue what a silent voice was about.
Uh-huh.
Never heard of this, so I kind of figured that this was going to be our quick one, folks. But we are going to move into Kay's second favorite film, Her, directed by Spike Jonze, not Spike Lee, Spike Jonze. It is a science fiction romance drama. In the new future, a lonely writer develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every needs. So I saw this like back right around when it kind of became more video on demand. I didn't see it in theaters and everything, but like I watch it for Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing talent. Why did you pick this film um, to for your
Uh,
number two?
I feel like this one always came to mind when I thought of like a favorite movie. I don't know why, like, it really sticks out. Like, I think, like, the filming was just so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful film. Um, it's also strange. I like strange movies. Um, it's very interesting on the relationship between him and the operating system and with his friends. Uh, it's also very interesting to see him in the beginning of the film writing letters. And you
Mm-hmm.
think that he's writing a letter to someone special to him, and he's not. He's writing a letter to someone else by someone else. He's a
Mm-hmm.
ghostwriter.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that he is the AI. Is
Yeah.
this a human AI?
Without like it being an actual, robotic, intelligence, yeah, it's
Hmm.
like all he has to do is just speak those words and just try to get that feeling of what that person is, and then as he speaks it, he doesn't even really type it or write it out, but
Hmm.
as he speaks it and you look up on the screen and it writes it out in that person's handwriting. And I think this is definitely a film that it was before its time, because now you look at how AI is now, you know,
Hmm.
and a lot of people are battling it, especially in the arts, because a lot of people are like, oh, let's hire the AI to write a script and not pay the script writer. And it's like,
Hmm.
we just had a strike last summer about this that went off into the fall. And it really hurt a bunch of people's jobs and everything. And now we are battling it yet again with the actors. And I think pretty much the studios had kind of, from my understanding, I think they're trying to backstab the writers again by having it where, yeah, well, we're still going to use AI writers and everything. It's definitely something interesting, because for this film, it's not just tackling, his job, that Joaquin Phoenix is this ghostwriter of sorts that is like an AI writer. His failing relationship with Rooney Mara, who plays his wife and everything, he ends up falling for this operating system named Samantha, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. Which, like, I love Scarlett Johansson so much. She's a great actor. I saw her way before Black Widow, so I've seen quite a few of her films. What are your thoughts about? Um, I guess probably like the rooted question in this film is, um, when we when things in real life, like, we're not being fed what we want in real life and relationships, so we seek to the internet, we seek to some other source to feed that. Like, what are your thoughts
Hmm.
on that? Like, what are your thoughts about maybe people forming relationships with operating systems or AIs and everything in order to receive something that they are not getting into their own personal life? What do you think about
Uh,
that?
I mean, honestly, I support it.
You
If
support it?
it helps them, if it helps them,
Mm-hmm.
if they find joy in talking to an operating system, I see no harm in it. Would I suggest involving yourself with real people? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but not everyone has that ability. So, if they need to, yeah, I would suggest the operating system.
Okay. Do you still think, even though with the operating system, that sooner or later they would have to learn, like Walking Phoenix character, to kind of lose
Hmm.
that in order to kind of,
Oh yeah,
like, maybe it could be kind of used as like a bit of a learning curve, like it did for him, and
absolutely.
that it would hopefully kind of help some people instead of relying on it as a crutch. I feel is what we do today with most technology, is it's a crutch for whatever issue we may have functioning in society, that instead it should be very much used as a tool and not abused.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that I also really want to bring up is the outstanding cast: Amy Adams, Rooney Mara, Olivia Wilde, Chris Pratt, Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader, and Brian Cox. Like, you have two SNL alums in here. Is there any of these people that ring a bell to you for the story?
Uh, oh, I know Chris Pratt.
Well,
I know a lot of the actors, but I just don't know everyone by name. I'm
mm-hmm.
not I'm not good at names.
That's fine. There is a film that, because when I was looking at her and then I saw the casting with
Hmm.
Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader. Have you ever seen the Skeleton Twins?
I haven't.
You haven't. So this one I really hope that I just throw it on everyone's watch list. But the gist of it is Kristen Wiig, and this will tie into another film that we'll talk about later. Kristen Wiig um, is like both her and Bill Hader play twins in this movie. I think like one is like born like a few minutes like after the other. Um, but Bill Hader's character is kind of almost like a failed actor. I would probably more or less sit there say he's more struggling, like he's been just trying to find jobs and everything. I think also too he's trying to kind of like come out of the closet to his sister to like let her know that he is gay, and she is also kind of like in a struggling relationship with her partner or like her husband and everything, and it it shines more of like a sibling relationship film of like these two used to tell each other almost everything, and then after the years apart, when Bill Hader's character tries to make it in Hollywood, and then he has to come back home because he kind of feels like he's failed everything, and he's trying to get his life all readjusted. Um, it's definitely a wonderful film, and I kind of feel like also too maybe the filmography of Judd Apatow or Judd Apatow. There you go. I definitely feel like he's one of those filmmakers that I kind of definitely feel you would vibe with. I believe he did Skeleton Twins.
That sounds great. So
Yeah. So there we go. We already got a future watch party. I just got to figure out
yeah.
where it's at. Are there any final thoughts that you want to sit there and talk about her?
Um, about her. Hmm. Give me a moment. Let me think. um, I just I think what I really found interesting about the movie was that, I've been in those situations where like I've had a long distance relationship. That kind of how it felt for me is that the
Okay.
person's not physically there, but you do the best you can without being physically with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be just taking a lot of pictures, going on a walk, showing someone, what you're experiencing. And it feels like you're there. And sometimes I think I am long distance from like everybody. I don't
Mm-hmm.
usually have friends in my area, and I've been that way for almost 10 years probably, because I was in the military. And then I got out, there's a pandemic, and now I just live in the middle of
What a way to
nowhere.
come out. It's like, oh, in a pandemic.
Right. So even like I was thinking about it one night that, I struggle with the loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And one night I really thought about it. I'm like, my best friend is my cell phone. And I know it's not, obviously, but it's the people in there. The cell phone gives me the power to talk to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it's like I'm going to bed every night with my phone. I'm saying goodnight to the people in my phone.
Yeah.
So that kind of like relates to the movie Her, that like, it's a
We rely
it's
on
not
these
about the
devices
computer.
to seek
Yeah.
out people that are like us and everything
Mhm.
to develop friendships. Even though half the damn time I kind of really wish I never had this and
I know,
everything,
same.
but at the same time, it's like in my career field, it's like well, you kind of need that in case someone's gonna offer you a job, and it's like
Mhm.
but then also too you get to meet all the wonderful people like right here on Twitch and everything. Like if anything, right next to my phone, I'm on my computer most of the time, and most of it's networking. It's networking here on Twitch. It's hosting events. It's scheduling events and everything. And quite honestly, there's like a huge chunk of our life that is dedicated to both phone and computer. Whether
Mhm.
you're talking with friends, a long distance relationship, which to me, sooner or later, those become when you meet the person, hopefully, those become like I don't want to say an actual relationship because a relationship I feel like it's just a broader term for it. Like, you know, you can have a relationship in multiple different facets. You know, it's
Yeah.
as long as the people are happy, that's what it matters. And I know there are some people that are like, you know, oh, your idea of dating is far totally different compared to
Oh
what
yeah,
ours
that's
was back
another
in the
thing
day.
about the movie.
Yeah.
That in the movie they're like, could this really be a real relationship? And surprising, there was a lot of support in that movie. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, dating operating system was so normal." Like Chris Pratt and his girl, were like, "Oh yeah, let's go on a double date, let's do it," and they were so eager for that. But when it came to, the main character, Theodore is his name.
Yeah, Theodore
Um,
Thwombly. It took me a moment to say it. It's
right.
like,
But his ex-wife saw it and she's like,
mm-hmm.
that is not a relationship.
Yeah,
And you're gonna have those people that look at like long distance relationships that way too, or just any certain relationship that's just a little bit different. That's not common. But a relationship could be anything that you want it to be. You don't have to, you know, prove to anyone that it's a real relationship.
yeah. There's definitely a huge sense of conformity that a lot of people want people to just kind of conform, but they don't really want to like outright say, no, you must do this. It's more like, really? And they kind of feel like, I don't want to say belittle, but there are some people that do that. But yeah,
Mhm.
like there's a bit of belittling or judging and everything, and then there's like the little snide comments like, oh, well, that won't last long, you know,
Mhm.
something like that. It's like, and it's like yes and no to that. Yes, it will not last long because hopefully then it will transform into something else, or like what I think the basis of most of any of these kind of relationships, when someone else is miles and miles away and you're using some form of technology to contact them, the lack of communication suddenly goes quiet and everything, and then everything just kind of falls apart and everything. So I definitely feel
Mm.
like if people who are in there, they have to be really great communicators,
Yeah.
um, because in all honesty, like communication, that's key in all relationships. You have to be a great communicator. You have to let your partner know you're upset about something. You can't let them try to read your brain because no one's psychic, you know. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, that does bring up an awful lot with her. Her definitely has like a lot of questions regarding the usage of AI, what is a relationship, and everything. How society does view X, Y, and Z of a relationship. It's like, no, a relationship is when the person is there. Everything else, everything else that is not that is either just talk. And it's like, well, talk does start at first. It's like sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, but we kind of, it always seems like in the society is we do tend to sit there and judge that if it's not an immediate like result, then it's not real or it's not even really worth the time of investing. um, I don't know what is up this week with science fiction. I've been in a huge science fiction binge. It's like tonight's podcast, we're gonna sit there and be covering a Philip K. Dick story. We're talking her. I went to a concert with Starset and everything, and we had a really good science fiction short film played in between that. So I don't know. It's a great week
Mm.
for sci-fi. That's all I can really sit there and say. And I really wish I could have sat there and watched her again and just kind of revisit that, and not just watch a film analytical
Yeah.
video right before the show. You know, science fiction can do wonders and everything with a lot of the societal talk and everything. Um, so we're definitely getting through these movies pretty quick. So I do apologize, folks, and everything, but this one I actually do really want to talk about because it's more or less it continues on with our relationship talk with her. But Kay's favorite film is Take This Waltz, directed by Sarah Polley. Yes, Sarah Polley and everything. It's a romantic comedy drama. A young woman played by Michelle Williams is torn between her husband Seth Rogen, that she loves, and a new man, Luke Kirby, in her life, whom she's unable to ignore. You love
Mm.
relationship films.
I do.
Yeah, yeah. I never would have pinned you for a rom
Right.
com kind of person. Like I
And
figured more fantasy more fantasy,
Mhm.
kind of things. Mostly just due to your personality on Twitch and everything. Uh,
Mhm.
so walk us through Take This Waltz and everything. Where did you discover it at first?
I discovered it on Netflix many, many years ago, like what, 12 years ago, I think, whenever it
Mm.
came out.
Was it a straight to was it a
Yeah,
Netflix
yeah,
film?
I don't think it was in theaters. If it was, I didn't see it in theaters. It was just one of those like random movies I was browsing through, and I like really like dramas. I like movies that are strange and like kind of the slice of life things that like I can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like relationship kind of movies and shows because I grew up as asexual. This is my asexual flag. I am LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a romantic. And it's very that what that means is I lack attraction, romantic and sexual attraction to any gender. Um, and that's always been hard when everyone else is not like that.
Yeah.
And I was always trying to find out like who I am as a person. What am I looking for in a relationship? What is going to be good for me to find happiness? So these movies, like they really help me like explore how other people live. Um, yeah.
So, for one, I'm shocked that this is a comedy drama that has Seth Rogen in it, and
I know.
I was able to watch a few clips, and it's like he hasn't told a dick joke whatsoever. I was like, oh my god, Seth
It's
Rogen
not
can act. He can
He's not,
it.
yeah, he's not a goofy guy in this
Yeah,
film. He is just a side character. And it was like everyone always when I show this film to anyone, they're like, "Oh, there's Seth Rogen." I'm like, "No, no, don't worry about him."
it's not the Seth Rogen you know. It's not the Seth Rogen that's like and
Yeah.
though he laughs like that regardless, but I feel like this is definitely one of those films kind of similar to when you see a comedic actor actually try to take on a very serious drama role, like Tom Hanks or Jim Carrey, when you actually sit there and see them kind of shred that persona of what broke them into the business, and then you see them, and I was like, oh my god, like there's a human being behind this, in a sense. It's
Mhm.
you're they're not just waiting for like, oh, when's the next snarky remark of when they can make a joke, because like I actually enjoyed him in Zack and Mira Make a Porno. Like it didn't feel like he was always trying to make like a joke every now and then, but it was very much like it was this it was this persona that he was trying to show of like, oh, like I really like my friend and everything, but I don't think she likes me. And so I kind of sat there and saw a little bit of what I think Kevin Smith tried to sit there and do, where it was trying to show, um, Seth Rogen as not just that dumb dude or whatever, or just that weird stoner guy like from Pineapple Express. And I feel like this film too kind of did that with Sarah Polley directing him as like, you're not the dude from Pineapple Express or from Superbad or what's some other Seth Rogen films that he was known for that were like really really big. I feel like
Mhm.
those were like his two capital ones and everything. I mean, hell, even if you watch Freaks and Geeks, he wasn't always that way. Like, he was definitely a very kind of insecure, very quiet man and everything. And then in
Mhm.
this one, he's just kind of like that happy-go-lucky golden retriever kind of husband, you know? Like, he's he he's I guess he feels more secure in the relationship that he is with Michelle Williams, where she isn't,
Yeah.
and
He's
everything.
very content.
He's very what?
Very content. Like he doesn't want the relationship to change at all. He doesn't want to take challenges, I think.
Yeah.
Um, just so you can see in the movie, like they go on an anniversary dinner and like he doesn't talk at all. Like he's just very, very comfortable.
He's very much like he's set in the ways of, this is how it's going to be for the rest of
Mhm.
of my life. And to kind of go back when we mentioned Chris Pratt and her Chris Pratt's character in Parks and Rec, which I know we're going all over the place here, but believe it or not, there is some connections to
Love
all this.
parks.
So you've seen Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I have.
So 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 then you definitely know the relationship between Andy and everything, where he was definitely like
Oh
that.
yeah.
He was just all
Mhm.
about his band, and he never saw anything wrong with their relationship. He just thought that, oh, I'm supposed to sit here, play music, and be the rock star, and Anne's gonna take care of everything. um
Mhm.
and it's kind of like what Seth Rogen is kind of like here. It's like that, but the thing is that Andy was able to mature and understand the things that he
Yeah.
did wrong with his relationship with Anne, and after a season or so of him trying to ruin Anne's relationship with Mark Brandanowitz. um, you guys have to watch the show to understand that little joke. He ends up meeting April, and April kind of did help him, understand a little bit about, like, hey, this is what you do in a relationship. And even though April is still a child in some sense
Mhm.
and everything, but they definitely learned from. Oh
They
my
were
god,
growing together.
yeah, they were growing together, and it's kind of sad that, from what I could see on this film through the clips that I was quickly trying to watch, that you didn't get that with Seth. Like, Seth felt like this is it.
Yeah.
It's
He
not gonna get
he
any
was
better than
focused
this.
on his chicken.
There was that too. Michelle Williams was what was a independent writer, and Seth's character is like this like famous like chef that writes books. And I swear to God, the
Mhm.
books are so hilarious. Like, their stage,
Yeah.
he has like the Swedish chef hat, like the old classical, like, ooh, I'm a chef. And um yeah, that whole story, the love triangle with Luke Kirby. I've never heard of Luke Kirby, so this was my introduction to him.
I think that
After
was my
seeing,
first.
huh?
That was my first seeing him as well.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, like, seeing what I did see, it did spike interest. That the next 2 days while I'm on vacation, I really do hope to like actually watch this film and really experience it. But what were a lot of your takeaways from this
Mm.
film with the love triangle and just feeling stale in the relationship?
Um, I think what really like drew me to this movie is that it was so relatable in my situation at the time.
Okay.
I I was really in love with this guy. Um, we had the perfect relationship. We were very comfortable with each other. But I still wanted to explore. It was like I was about the age of 20, and I that was like my first real relationship.
Okay.
Um, and you meet people and you find connections with other people sometimes. So I've like battled with the thoughts of like maybe I would like a poly relationship, maybe this relationship just isn't working for me, and I need to end it. Um, and it's those thoughts like that movie kind of showed those thoughts like what should you do?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I really liked about the film was uh oh, hold on, my brain is slow.
I I had two
um
cups of coffee and I still feel like the damn gerbil in my brain is dead. So you're not
yeah,
alone.
it's one of the messages they said in the film was old things or new things get old. So if you were to end this relationship and go for something new, that relationship will eventually get old again.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed that in the beginning of the film. I think she was with Seth Rogen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she was baking something and she just looked a little bored. And then uh should I spoil the movie? or should I keep that out?
I mean, like here we've always spoiled films. We've always talked about films.
Okay.
So if the people who are watching on YouTube, it's best like before we jump right into these films, pause it, go watch those movies. Or go check the movies out and everything before you watch the episode.
So
Go full
at the end of the
spoilers.
film, you see the same exact scene again. Was her in the kitchen baking something, and it was the other guy. She left Seth Rogen for the other man.
For
And
the Bohemian.
she was again a little bored looking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that was there's different. I think you can take different messages from the film. I think yes, they were trying to say new things get old. Um, but I think you have to kind of listen to your heart sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because she would have spent what 30 years. She was telling the man like, let me have at least 30 years with my husband, and then maybe I'll explore. Um, but she would spend those 30 years just thinking like, what if? And I don't think that's like a great way to live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she also had this well, her and the character Daniel both said, I'm afraid of connections. And it showed that in the very beginning of the film while she was in flight connections.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a foreshadowing of like, hey, I'm afraid of connections with other people, I think it meant.
Okay.
Um Also she's like, I don't like being in between things.
Yeah.
Um and that was kind of how it was with the guy. Like, I don't want to be in between things. Like either we're together or we're not.
Yes.
Like you have to move on.
I think we've
Um,
at least came across at least once in our lives. We've come across those moments, especially in our youths and everything. Though I'm not sitting there saying I'm old or anything. I feel old, but
mm,
yeah, like it happens so frequently when we are exploring relationships, and when
yeah.
we kind of really start discovering that feeling, and it's like, oh, we don't want that anymore, and then we easily fall into that wonderful quote that you mentioned that um, all new things get old and
Mhm.
everything, and it's more of you have to listen to your heart. And so like what do you think, what do you have to do, I would say, in a relationship to kind of, I don't know, I don't like to use the word keep things fresh and everything, but like what, I guess, what would be, if you have an answer to that, what would be your answer to, like, yeah, would all new things go old, or like probably how some people, because I've always heard it's all like, oh, they're in the honeymoon season.
Yeah,
It's like wait
that's
until
true.
you know it's afterwards, and now let's sit there and see if they can be with one another. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I honestly think that yes, everything is eventually going to get old. Everything is going to get boring, but boring's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but one thing I liked about the film was like everyone has a different opinion on the ending.
Okay.
Like when I show it to them. Um, to other people, they would think, oh, maybe she shouldn't have done that. Maybe she should have just stayed with Seth Rogen. Um, but when you see the very end of the film, she's on this ride. It's like a spinner ride, like at a
Mm-hmm.
theme park, and she brought Daniel on the other man on the ride with her, and she had so much fun with him. In the beginning or the middle of the film, but at the end of the film, she kind of looked bored, and eventually she was on the ride by herself. And that's where people think, like, oh, maybe she was unhappy. But I don't think she was unhappy. I think she learned how to be happy within herself. I
Mm-hmm.
think Daniel, he had made these photos of her. He was an artist and drew her as like this depressed being that could be happy, is what he was trying to tell her. Like, you could be happy. But I think in the ending, you know, she was looking for happiness, but she was looking for it in these men. Um, but when she was on that ride by herself, I think she kind of learned how to be happy within herself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that does.
Like she didn't need a
That
relationship. She kind of should have learned.
that actually brings up. So, have you seen The Graduate? Mike Nichols. No. All right. So we're gonna go on a ride here too, just like what Michelle Williams did. So in The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman. You know who he is, right? He played
Hmm.
Ben Stiller's dad in Meet the Fockers and everything.
Yeah.
And so, well, that was a sequel, right? I think it was Meet the Parents was the first one. I think it was Meet the Fockers, if I remember correctly. But either way, um, so The Graduate is Dustin Hoffman's character comes back from college. He doesn't really know what he wants to do with his life. And he ends up shacking up with one of the family friends' wife and everything. She's having the affair. What makes her feel fresh and everything, and it's like something new, is getting old. But as the film progresses, Dustin Hoffman gets old with her, and she's already struggling with her age of already feeling like not good enough for her husband. Her husband doesn't do really much anything to her, so she's gonna go sleep around with all these young guys. Well, Dustin Hoffman catches feelings for her daughter, and he actually loves her. But towards the beginning, within the first act of the story, there is an interesting quote line, kind of similar to what Michelle Williams' character of anything new gets old. Um, is that the husband to the guy that the husband to the woman that Dustin Hoffman is fucking around with and everything. He said there says the future is plastics and everything, and it just kind of left it like that. So it's like, well, what's plastic? Like, are we talking Tupperware? Like, what are we talking about here?
Mm.
So, throughout the story, Dustin Hoffman, he goes through this self-realization. He's unhappy with himself. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's always led by what people have told him to do, like go to college and do this. He doesn't know what he wants to do. So he gets into these strings of relationships. He finally finds the woman that he truly does believe that he's in love with, and he fights tooth and nail to get her, even despite he was screwing her mother. That's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to, no pun intended, to get around. Um, and so when it gets to the iconic marriage scene, which has been parodied so many times, more importantly by Wayne's World, where Dustin Hoffman comes to the girl's aid and it's all like, no, you're not going to marry this guy. I love you. I want to be with you. And so they run away together. They put the broom handle at the archway to like keep everyone else from trying to stop them from running away. Um, and then they go and they get on a bus, and all of a sudden there's all these people that are just watching them, and they go and they sit at the very back end of the bus as they're getting ready to drive off, and they're going to be together, and they're kind of happy at first, and it's like, okay, this is brand new, this is exciting, yes. And then all of a sudden, as they're driving away and they're kind of looking at all the other people on the bus, that smile just kind of quickly fades away, and they're just staring just right ahead at the front of the bus as they're riding, um, and it kind of already feels like it's gotten so old, and it makes you really think about that quote said earlier in the film: "The future is plastics, and plastics can be a metaphor for anything, a fake or something that's not real." And it has something where maybe The Graduate will have a different meaning on the topic of that. Not everything that you believe that you should do is good could be for the benefit, because Dustin Hoffman sees how his parents are. They're very bland. They're very boring. Like, really, they're only highlighted showing their kid off and doing these weekend barbecues. And then you look at the relationship of his, the bride that he saved, the woman he loves. Her parents are falling apart, in a divorce because the mother is just unhappy and she sleeps around to be happy, while the father is working on his plastics industry and everything. And so it seems like everything is fake. Everything is not as it seems. Don't just look at the cover, read the entire book to know what's going on. And I kind of feel that with what you told me about Take This Waltz. It's that sudden realization that it's like, oh my God, we've just become like our parents. We're going to be
Mm-hmm.
boring. There's nothing There is nothing new. There's nothing refreshing. We just did something exhilarating, and
Yeah.
look how quick that high went away, and everything. And so, if Dustin Hoffman's character would have maybe found some form of inner happiness within himself, and the same thing for the love interest too. It's they would have had that. Maybe they could have had a little bit more of the ending that Michelle Williams had, where it seems like, and I know that could be interpreted in different ways, but taking from your interpretation, it sit there and it seems like, yeah, she's kind of fallen in the same hole, but she loves herself this time, hopefully,
Mhm.
hopefully, and
Hopefully.
everything. So
Depends on how you read the ending.
yeah, which to me, like, it's. I love films that do this, and so the more that you talk about it, it's like this definitely feels like this could be a Mike Nichols film, who also did The Birdcage, which you messaged me right before, and it was like I was so glad I didn't pick this one because I covered this,
Yeah,
last month and everything, and it's like it's
I
still
saw
a
the window.
fantastic movie and everything, so. It's good to see 1963, I think, is when I believe The Graduate came out. Mike Nichols compared to, I think that was 1996. Mike
Mm.
Nichols, of just how far the artist has come in ways of actually telling stories about relationships, and also too, I have to give huge props to director Sarah Polley. If that name doesn't ring a bell to you folks and you love horror, she was the main character in Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder remake. She played the nurse, the head nurse, and everything that we watch as her husband becomes a fucking meal to a child with half of its face ripped off and everything. Um, and she falls in love with, I think it's Tim Roth. Have you seen Dawn of the Dead, the 2003 version, where they
I don't
had
think
the
I have.
it's a fun film. I think you enjoy it. Like, I still prefer the Romero trilogy and then the sequel trilogy. Is that the same woman from American Horror Story? I think you're thinking of Sarah Paulson, which that is not. Um, Sarah Pauli, I think, has stepped away within, I think, the mid 2000s, because 2003 was when she did Dawn of the Dead. I think she stepped away mid 2000 or into 2010, from acting, and she started going full directing. Which, to me personally, I was listening to an interview yesterday of Ethan Hawke. You know who Ethan Hawke is, right?
I'm not good with names.
I'm pretty sure you may have sat there and seen him. Have you heard of I think it's called The Black Phone? It was a Joe Hill horror film from like a few years ago. This guy
Oh, I don't
kidnaps
watch too
kids
much
and
horror.
okay, I'm trying. Dead Poet Society. Are you familiar with that?
Is that the one with Robin Williams?
Yes. Oh, Captain, my
Yes,
Captain.
I've seen that.
All right.
I
Well,
think
Ethan
it's
Hawke
really
is the
dope.
brooding kid that's in the thing. He's the friend to Leonard. I'm forgetting his last name, and we covered him last month. Um, but Leonard is like the one that is he's feeding into Robin Williams' thing. Like he enjoys the poetry that Robin Williams is teaching him about,
Mhm.
and Ethan Hawke is that kid's best friend. But he's like the one that's just kind of brooding in his desk, and he's a little bit more insecure. Wonderful fucking actor. Either way, I was listening to an interview and kind of talked about that some of the really great directors, it seems today, are actors and everything, and that directing and acting is the same thing. And I've kind of like
Mhm.
noticed now that with the with Sarah Pauli that yeah, it kind of does seem like if you really want to be a great director, you also have to be an actor. And I want to be a great director one day, but I cannot act to save my life whatsoever.
Can
I've
you
done the
direct
acting,
other people to
huh?
act? Can you direct other people to act though?
Yeah, I believe so. Like I show it in my short film and everything. Now, like
Mm.
after seeing Ethan Hawke, like the way how I guess he would direct his stuff, I was like, I would so love. I kind of really wished I did have the time, because going in between classes and in everyone else's work schedule while doing my film, we never really got to have those types of meetings. Like we would go through our lines and make sure everyone remembered them, and we would go over like certain beats of how I wanted this stuff done. But we never went nearly as deep as I guess how Ethan Hawke would go, where he would have them act it out. He would have them make every mistake and tell them make every mistake. We can learn from those mistakes. We can, mold something, and it really, really makes me want to sit there and definitely give directing an extra shot. because like the more I look at it, it's like, you know what, even when I do write, I always tend to kind of act that stuff out. But I'm very insecure when it came to acting. You know, even whenever I did simple stuff from like Kevin Smith in acting class, where we like reenacted some stuff from Clerks, it's like half the damn time I felt so embarrassed. And it's like I give actors so much props to not to like go out there and act and
Yeah.
not feel so insecure or embarrassed. But I find out, oh no, they're still insecure. They just got to learn how to drop that and just kind of lose it and just have fun. And so I've kind of like noticed that with like, you know, with a lot of actors turned directors like Clint Eastwood. What was it? Orson Welles, who did Citizen Kane. He was an actor first. He was a stage actor. Charles Laughlin, who did one of my favorite movies, Night of the Hunter. He was an actor too. He was one of the earlier depictions of Quasimodo in Universal's Hunchback of Notre Dame and everything. People know him from that, but his only one directorial film, Night at the Hunter, is still like one of the best films ever. It's like a gothic noir horror film and everything. And yeah, I'm sorry I went on a tangent about actors and directors, but when I saw Sarah Polley and found out that like this child, she's been working since she was a child and everything. She did like Baron Munchausen in '88. I know this a lot of stuff is probably going over people's heads, but this is the show where we get into our nerdling. Um,
Mhm.
uh,
We're here to listen.
yeah. So I do apologize, folks. Going back to Take This Waltz. What's another takeaway that we can do for this?
Um. Well, kind of a random topic that wasn't really. I don't know if it was the aim of the film,
Mm-hmm.
but I like the fact that they there was nudity in this film. You weren't expecting nudity, but there's quite a bit of nudity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not sexualized at all. It's just it's normalized
Yeah,
for just
as
to
normal as it
normalize
is.
normalize many different body types. Um, and I thought that was neat to have that in there and just make it so casual that we don't need to sexualize people's bodies or make it into this weird thing. It's just, this is how we are. This is what we look like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there. Um, I think another topic in the film was, uh, I think it was her sister-in-law.
Yeah, played by
Uh,
Sarah Silverman. Yes.
yeah, a family member where she was an alcoholic. Um, and it showed kind of her battle. She wasn't a main topic in the film, but like at the very end of the film, it showed that she kind of like relapsed and told the main character, "Hey, like this is my normal state is being drunk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I'm always just trying to keep myself together." And I think that was a good message too. And it showed that like she really needed her friend, the main character,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of keep herself grounded. And when she left and went to this other relationship, she didn't have that support anymore to like stay sober.
Okay.
So
Definitely now relying on other people for like a crutch and everything, and because yeah, that's her sister-in-law, so she was Seth Rogen's sister,
like definitely it's her
which
journey and like
yeah,
everything. Just
which it
I think it
goes
just helped to have that support because they
it
were always hanging out.
it kind of goes in to sit there and also show just like the relationship then between because did they ever sit there and show how Seth Rogen's character would act around his sister Sarah Silverman? Like, what was he always just like trying not to look at
He was,
the
yeah,
the
he was
monster
always.
that is alcoholism, at her, and did he kind of like ignore that, or did he try to help?
No, they were all very supportive. I think in the beginning of the film, they had a party, and she was like, "Hey, I've been sober for this amount of time," and everyone was happy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but Seth Rogen's relationship with his sister, I don't think was like very strong because again, like his relationship with his wife wasn't very strong. Like he was just
Yeah.
always making chicken.
So it just seems more like he was just in his own little world to get away from everything else and
A little
everything.
bit.
But that is definitely sad and everything. But we've always had stories like that where not every sibling is tight knotted, and of course that's when I also kind of offered you the skeleton twins because it fits. Those were siblings that used to be tight together, and now like they're not. They feel like they don't even know each other anymore, and um, yeah, like you've definitely got me quite a bit to sit there and think on. Folks, if you definitely want to watch Take This Waltz, it is on Peacock right now. You can actually watch it if you do not have the paid subscription. I do believe it is on the free subscription and everything. So like even if you don't pay the subscription for it, you can get it on the free part. You'll be getting the ads, of course, and everything. But yeah,
I watched it on Hulu.
you watched it on Hulu? Okay, well then also too
Hmm.
you can get it on Hulu as well.
Yep.
Hulu and the never mind, I'm not gonna say that. And Peacock and everything. Definitely check that out. Um, romance. I was not expecting to talk about so much romance today.
Yeah, but Silent Voice. I really recommend Silent Voice.
Where can you watch that?
Um, that one's hard because we did have a little bit of trouble finding that one. You will
Was
have to pay for it.
is it a Funimation project? Because I just heard that just got sold off. The
Let
Crunchyroll got sold off to Sony, and so it's like the end of Funimation.
me see.
I had to do a lot
Yeah,
of digging to find an English dub.
you
Could you
can
not
buy
just
it.
find a Japanese one and then
It's
just
on
throw the?
Prime
Oh, is it on
Video.
Prime? Oh,
You can
okay.
buy it for like $2.
No, that's
Well,
not.
to
That's
rent,
not.
you can rent it.
Oh, I was about to say. Okay, I was about to say that's not too
Oh,
bad. $2 for a movie? Fuck yeah! I take $2 movies any day
if
of
you
the
want to
week.
buy the movie, it's like $8.
That's still not bad. That's still not bad whatsoever.
Hmm.
Um,
And that film, that's gonna be very triggering film.
okay.
If you are, um, like, if at any time you were struggling with mental health, this movie made me cry the entire time. So just be warned. It's a
There's your
great
disclaimer.
film. Yeah, great film, but you'll be crying.
So obviously don't listen to Magashi, who did some deep digging without paying for an English dub. But you can get it on
Uh,
Amazon Prime, rent it for $2, or
mhm.
just pay the $8 for it and everything. Uh, uh, did you watch Her recently when you did your watch party as well?
Yeah, I
Where
watched all of these pretty recently.
where did you find Her at for the listeners?
Let me look.
Yeah, we're just I don't know if the Amazon one is the English or
I
Japanese
watched
dub.
it on Max.
You watch it on HBO Max? Okay. Or Max. That's what
Hmm.
it's called now. It's called now because David Zaslav is an asshole. But I'm not going to get on that tirade because this is a happy hour. Um, but yeah. And hopefully I've offered enough films towards you. The Skeleton Twins, um,
Yeah, I'm
and
super interested in it.
and The Graduate and everything. I definitely feel like in today's day of cinema, when it comes to like I'm gonna be the one to sit there and say I can't stand films like The Notebook. I
Hmm.
can't stand those kind of romance films because like I feel like that's looking too much. Even though like The Notebook did have some very real grueling issues with like communication and relationships, like that iconic Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling meme, what do you want, like what do you want from me, and it's like
I'd say The Notebook is a great film,
yeah.
but when you look at his other books and movies, was it Nicholas Sparks? They are very
did
similar to each
did
other,
Nicholas
and they're
Sparks
just
do The Notebook? I didn't know he did that one.
was it Nicholas Sparks?
I
Let me let me
I
look
don't
it
know,
up.
sis. Yeah, I was about to sit there and say, we're gonna have to need a mod now to start feeding me information. It's like I was like, is that a Nicholas Sparks? If so, I didn't even know that. Like, it's like there are some. I
Yes,
feel
yes, it was.
it is. Oh, so he did do more than just science. I always kept thinking that he did nothing but science fiction, teen romance stuff. Like,
It's like Hey Dear John.
oh, I
Um,
didn't even know. Well, see, that's
what
another one I can't get
like,
into.
The Best of Me.
I agree,
Safe
Warbler.
Haven.
It's very hard to draw attention to movies like that unless, like, to me, they have like a very surreal vibe. Like they have to have at least latched on to something that I have physically felt. Um, and to
They're
films,
very, very similar to each other, so it bored
yeah,
me. It's like if you saw The Notebook and you will try watching his other films, his other books, it's like you already seen it.
yeah. It's now John Q. That had me, yeah. Um, so there is another one. It is definitely a classic during the new Hollywood era that I'll throw, which it goes hand in hand with The Graduate, but it came out 4 years after The Graduate, if I remember correctly. Five Easy Pieces. So if you love Jack Nicholson, this is going to be the film for you, even though it is a drama romance. But essentially, that is about a born pianist who leaves his rich family behind, and he goes to live the life of a blue collar worker. And you slowly starts to kind of like realize, oh well, why did you run away? Oh, there's like this whole bumping heads with his father thing, and then you look at the relationship that he has with like Karen Page. That woman is amazing in horror. She did Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, and I do believe The Devil's Reject. She did both of those films, and then she did before then. What made her, I think, really famous was the Trilogy of Terror, which she was a woman being terrorized by the Zuni doll, which is like this little itty bitty, you know, um, doll that it never lets up on trying to kill you. Once you remove the medallion, the doll goes on a killing rampage. Um, it's a really really good film. I definitely like if you're like into like puppet horror or like doll horror. That's definitely a good movie. I apologize. There's something in my eye. It's not tears. But yeah, five easy pieces. Um, Karen Black and everything has a relationship with Jack Nicholson, and she's like the blue collar worker. She can sing. She, I believe, is like a waitress and everything. And he treats her like utter garbage and everything. And it's like it's part of like that old part of him from being like the rich snob that he's trying to break loose, but at the same time he doesn't want to be associated with them. And he ends up falling in love for like a different woman, but he can't really be with her because I think she's gonna marry his brother and everything. So like it's a lot of dipping in, but it's one of those things that I kind of feel like we're having a renaissance of new Hollywood style films, in which it really does tell personal details. Five Easy Pieces is more than just a commentary on the romances at the time of people struggling with their relationships, but it's also just struggling with the relationships of their parents and their family. And I definitely kind of feel like with films that you brought to my attention here, like Take This Waltz and Her, and we could throw in A Silent Voice as well, even though that's more about bullying and just not being a piece of shit, and among other things.
There is some relationship stuff in there, but no, it doesn't focus on romance.
Yeah. Um, but like it kind of feels like we're going through that same renaissance. So I've given you guys quite a few other films too to watch. The Graduate, I'm pretty sure you can watch that on Max as well, but I think it's also on Tubi. Five Easy Pieces, that one's a little bit harder to find. I think that one's on Amazon Prime for the moment. But if you do love yourself some new Hollywood era films, which to me they definitely like talked about like how hard the times were and the troubles and grievances. Believe it or not, they still mirror what we go through today. Some of them, like in Five Easy Pieces, there's like some sexism, and there's some stuff that it's not really looked at all too well. So to me, I always tell people, I was like, kind of keep it in mind. This is a film from the '60s. Not everything is going to be PC or anything like that. Like you're gonna probably hear something that may trigger you. So there is that disclaimer. And Holy crap. Lunar, I think you're the first person that has rated my podcast. Oh my god. Welcome in, Raiders.
Welcome in.
Welcome in. Hi, Mech. Hi, George. How are you doing? What isn't a triggering word? Well, it actually depends, because there's some stuff that's considered triggering, but I don't find it a trigger. So, like, that's like, what's someone's fear? You never really know what it is. You know, that's more of a trial and error. Yeah, but yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Hi, Lunar. How are you guys doing and everything? All the words can be, right? I could be triggered by the word, I don't know, Cool Whip. I don't know. Like, don't say that word and everything. Dumb. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like, well, I feel like most people get triggered by the word dumb, more or less in the context of you're dumb. And it's like, but thank you guys so much for the raid. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm the Gothic Storyteller. We're currently having community curation. Thank you, Lunar, for the raid, bringing in your family here, your friends. I graciously appreciate it. We may wrap up like a half hour early, but I still definitely want to sit there and at least, like, because now we're exploring this. I don't really get to explore the romance genres. So thank you, Kay, so much.
No problem.
We got a little bit of a deep talk going on and everything, and now it's making me really look at it as like, well, what other films have I seen? There's
Love
another one too, As Good as It Gets. Now that one definitely was 2003. It will definitely probably trigger some people, but that one's another good one about learning how to handle someone with like OCD in a strong compulsive disorders. And
Mm.
I mean, it's another Jack Nicholson film. He's a grumpy old man. He pisses people off, but he kind of like learns how to handle. Was short because Sunday, but awesome. That's good to hear. And yeah, it's more or less it's Jack Nicholson learning that the world does not revolve around him, and that he has to learn. Like his neighbor, who is an artist, is gay and everything, and he does actually say some derogatory stuff towards him. If you're an animal lover, he throws a dog down a laundry chute because the dog got on his nerve. But he ends up learning to love the dog towards the end. So the dog's okay. The dog's okay. It's not like in some horror films where they decide to kill the dog. You know, it's not like that. It's not like that. So for dog lovers out there, it is not like that. So there we
Like,
go.
I have another movie.
You have
I
another
have another
movie?
movie. I have
Okay.
another movie I can tell you about if you've seen it.
All right.
Have you seen Closer?
Which one?
It's Closer. It is a romance thriller from '04.
Closer.
Mm-hmm.
I have. I
Natalie
don't.
Portman was in it.
No.
June Law.
I've never. What
No?
is this? What is this?
It's a
For
movie.
one, I like Jude Law now, Natalie Portman, and as early I think as you have given that year date, that is Natalie Portman. I think in the middle of the Star Wars prequel, so I
Mhm.
felt like that era of her life. I don't recall anything because Star Wars took over everything.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
this is another big romance movie that is a little on the strange side. It's not like, oh, boy meets girl, like they fall in love and live happily ever after. It's a lot of drama.
Okay.
And it's not just two people, it's involved with four people. Four
Okay.
people are all connected to each other, all having different relationships with each other. It's a very interesting film.
All right. All right.
I think it won some rewards. But
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm definitely gonna have to sit there and check that out. Closer, starring Natalie Portman and Jude Law. I love Jude Law. I think
Mhm.
that dude's underrated. To me, also too, I think he's the best Watson ever in cinema
Hmm.
and everything. He just has that look of, oh, why do I even follow you? Like, you know. But also too, he's done like I think he's done almost every genre, including horror. Even though I think some people would probably view it as more of a thriller for some of his stuff, but yeah, Closer with Natalie Portman and Jude Law. I'm definitely gonna have to add that one to the list. Um, so are we ready for movie association and everything? Are you ready for the list?
What's that?
That's the one where I will list off a word and you must connect the film with that word.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. We may be wrapping up just a
Think
little bit
this.
early and everything, but I definitely feel like we can definitely have fun with this. Um, because I actually have been having fun with this. This is very, very. This makes me now want to like just go look for a backlog of romance films and go watch them. So K is hitting the romance button on me. There we go. I was gonna sit there and say tickling the funny bone. I was like, I don't know if that was a really good metaphor. No. Um, so for those that are new here, movie association is I give a word to our guest, and they must associate that one word with a movie title. And generally, it's kind of like a fast-paced thing, but we also may, for the sake of the time and everything, we may actually discuss a little bit more further on those films. Mostly because I
Mhm.
actually feel like I came up with a really good list, and Kato was like the guinea pig for this list and everything. So our first word is going to be love.
So I tell you what movie
What
associates with
movie
love.
associates with love?
Between those films or just any film?
Any film.
Hmm. That one's. It could be her or it could be Take This Waltz. They're both on love. Um, but I think really Take This Waltz. I think
Okay. Melancholy.
melancholy. How would you describe melancholy?
I think it's a much more heightened sense of bittersweet. But instead of
Bittersweet.
really feeling bitter, it's more. It's like I'm happy and I'm sad at the same time. There's like a lot of like synonyms you can use, like sappy and everything for that. But melancholy,
Oh,
I like the sound and
I say Take This Waltz. Kind of
take this well.
is really, yeah.
Raw,
Raw.
raw.
Raw. Hmm. Maybe a silent voice.
Okay.
I don't know what
Blue,
would be considered raw.
blue. The color blue.
Blue, a silent voice.
Okay. Fantasy.
Fantasy. Um, I mean, it would be none of those films
Yeah.
that are my favorite. It would probably be something like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Things I don't typically watch.
You don't watch Lord of the Rings?
I have, but not usually. And it's like Lord of the Rings intimidates me because it's like so long. Maybe Pirates of the Caribbean. I love Pirates of the Caribbean.
That could be fantasy as well and everything. But also too, they don't have a whole trilogy where it's an entire director's cut that extends it by an extra hour or 45 minutes or so. But you can't watch Lord of the Rings now without the extended cut. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
um, laughter.
Laughter. Um, for me, it's gonna be the birdcage.
Okay. Is there something since like, I would definitely want to get your viewpoint on this. What is it for laughter for the birdcage for you? Um,
Um, I think it's just I don't know what to say.
is it Robin's energy?
It is it's Robin Williams. Robin Williams is always going to be funny. Usually, he has had a few bad movies, but typically he's a really good actor.
Mm-hmm.
But what made it so funny was them him and his co-star just pretending to be like LGBT or pretend they are LGBT and then they pretend to be straight. It's that to me is kind of funny.
Well, Nathan Lane is gay and everything, from my
Oh,
understanding and everything. So I didn't learn about that until after I think what was it? I think it was after I wrote a paper on the birdcage in film school. I was like, I didn't even know he was gay. I was like, I just thought
yeah.
he played the role so well because my first introduction to him was Mouse Hunt, and I was like, that is the first gay man I have ever seen to play
Mhm.
a straight man so well and everything. And it's like,
Yeah, like it was funny how well he did try like in one portion of the movie, he was playing a gay guy, but tried to act as a straight guy, and that to me was funny. This
Yeah.
how like relatable it was.
Yeah. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness.
Happiness. Happiness. Hmm. I think it would be kind of any like Disney movie.
Just is there a specific era for Disney, or do you think all of that? Like Disney as in general, or is there like a specific, like, is it the Renaissance? Is this the Golden Age, or
I'm a '90s kid. I like the '90s movies.
so the Renaissance? Yeah,
Hmm.
the Hunchback of Notre Dame and all that. Acceptance.
Acceptance. Um. Well, now that my mind is towards Disney, I would say Lion King 2. The acceptance. Did you ever see Lion King 2?
A long time ago. Is that the one where they introduced Scar's son?
I don't think they were related. I don't remember that part, but they were very similar to Scar, the way that they looked. They were kind of given like a bad rep throughout
Yeah.
the film.
Yeah, because
Um,
I believe in the second one it was Scar's son that was looking for his father, and I think he found out that Simba killed him, and it's Simba's kid falls in love with Scar's kid, and
huh.
so it's supposed to be more or less that I, if I remember right, is I think Simba is also supposed to teach him that you don't have to be like your father. You don't have to follow in your father's footsteps. You don't have to make all the mistakes he's done. It's like
Well,
you've been,
Simba did not like him.
yeah,
Was it Kovu? Was his name Kovu? If
I
anyone
can't,
in chat remembers.
yeah, that it's like the same thing when people ask about Aladdin too. It's all
Hmm.
like, it's like,
But people do usually remember Lion King 2. Lion King 2 was really good. There's
okay,
a lot of Disney movies have a sequel and they're not good, but Lion King 2 is memorable.
I'm gonna have to go back then and
Yeah,
rewatch that.
eventually, there's a lot of like, you know,
It means
fighting
no
back and forth
worries.
between these lions, and they can't coexist with each other, but eventually at the end they learn that, they are the same.
It's definitely
They're
something I think even Simba had to kind of like learn that too. Of just because he came from the loins of the guy that threw your father into the wildebeest and everything, it's like it didn't mean that he was going to be bad neither. But I do remember even long before he even came across Simba, I think he was just mistreated badly, and he
mm,
was fed a different narrative of your father fought bravely for Pride Rock and everything by his own mother, and it's like it was either she was told the different thing, or like she was just as evil as Scar, and it was like, no, we want Pride Rock back for the name. And um it I definitely know when it comes to Lion King, that's very Shakespearean, so I kind of like felt like they were trying to do the same thing there, because I think it was Macbeth. I think that's what the first Lion King was, like
mm.
kind of alluring too. So, uh, yeah, no, when it really comes to even Disney Renaissance, when they started doing the sequels, I don't remember a single, because
Been
I
a
kept
while.
always thinking the sequel to Aladdin was Return of Jafar, and they're like, no, that's the next one. I was like, what's
Mhm.
the sequel then? And they're like, the sequel was the when Aladdin met his dad, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. I thought that was a TV series, and they're like, yeah, when you get lost in those sequels, and they're not nearly as great or grand, but that's the first time I've ever really heard anyone actually speak up for like a sequel. They're like, oh, I think the second one is just as good as the first, if not better, you
Hmm.
know. So now I'm definitely gonna have to go recheck that out. I only remember seeing it maybe once or twice as a kid. Um, so thank you. Like now on my next 2 days off, I have so many movies to watch. Thank you so freaking much. Um, so we're gonna sit there. We're gonna hurry and go through. Well, not hurry. We're taking our time here to work our way through the outro. Ghost Girl, when you pick up streaming tomorrow, right? And everything. What is your schedule? Um,
Um, Lately I've been streaming around like 6 p.m. Eastern time.
okay.
but it changes.
So we expect to see you at 6 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow
Yeah.
night. Okie dokie.
Yeah.
You're just gonna go with the flow here for your schedule whenever it
Yeah,
feels good
I
for you.
am. Everyone's schedule is gonna be different, but I am like chronically ill, so sometimes I do need to take my time.
Okay. Okay. And where can people find you on the socials to see all the
Uh,
wonderful content?
well, let's go scroll with a 05 in the name. But I'm on the Twitter X, the Instagram threads. I think those are my main sites.
Do you have a YouTube?
I do have YouTube. I don't, it's not updated as much because
Okay.
I like to have finished content on there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but
So
definitely on my Twitch. Twitch is like my main platform.
so the best way to see your content is on Twitch, at Ghost Girl with a 05, and you're prominently on X and Instagram.
Hmm.
Okie dokie, okie dokie. Uh, our next guest for next month, folks, will be the one and only Jessica Jones, one of the biggest supporters here in the community. Next month, we are doing The Gentleman of Horror. So we're covering some films that are from Vincent Price, Sir Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. And maybe one of their films are going to pop up in Jessica Jones' lineup. You just never know. Uh, Jessica Jones is definitely a lover of classic horror. And if you love classic horror, if you love the stuff from like the 50s going all the way into the early 80s and everything, that seems to be the thing we're going to be covering next month and everything. Kay, aka Ghost Girl, thank you so much again for being here. It was a pleasure having you on here. I was definitely wondering, so like, does she wake up this early for the interview? And I was a little scared at the beginning. I was like, oh my god, is she up? I haven't gotten a message from her, because generally some people message me an hour before show and it's like she hasn't messaged. I need a message. What's going on here? And I'm so glad that I did get to interview you. It's definitely been fun. I'm so sorry I missed the watch party to catch up on all these films and everything, but now Take This Waltz has definitely taken the cake for me. Of this is a much watched movie for me to do.
Hmm.
And yeah, with that being said, folks, check out Kate tomorrow night. If you guys are watching on YouTube, then yeah, whenever you catch her. But tomorrow night, folks, Kate will be on Twitch, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do you already know what you're gonna play, or have you not figured that out?
Um, I'm going through Persona 3 Reload. I'm also going through Alan Wake right now, so it's gonna be either of those two.
I saw that and I absolutely love Alan Wake, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh, it's like she's playing my
Alan
game
Wake
and
has
everything.
been a lot of fun.
Do you plan on doing the like? I know it's a DLC kind of sequel to the first one, but do you
Hmm.
plan on doing the American Nightmare and then doing Alan Wake 2 somewhere in the
I
future?
think so. I think so.
You're enjoying it enough that you want to continue
Mm-hmm.
Alan's story? Okie dokie and everything. With that being said, folks, thank you guys again so much again for being here. We are going to go raid out.